Welcome to the Nerdstalgic podcast with your host, the Ginger Bookworm. Nerdstalgic with the Ginger Bookworm. Nerdstalgic with the Ginger Bookworm.
Howdy Beans, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Nerdstalgic podcast. I'm your host, Luke the Human. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're all good, as per usual. Before we get into today's new series and topic, I want to do a bit of housekeeping because I like to keep my house nice and clean. So, 3 things I want you to do for me before we get into today's episode. Number 1, make sure that you follow me on Twitter at nerdstalgic_pod to be kept up to date on everything and anything that I'm doing, watching, reading, and all that jazz. Number 2, if you listen to this on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe is wonderful, but a like and a comment would take me and the episode and the video and the channel a lot further. So if you could do that, I'd be incredibly grateful. And finally, if you listen to this on Spotify, and especially if you're on your phone, don't forget to leave a star rating, 1 to 5 stars. Because again, just like YouTube, the higher the ratings for the stars, the more of the episode and more of the channel and more of the series gets shown to new people, which new visitors, new listeners, and downloads and all that jazz. So doing any of those things supports me greatly. I appreciate it so much, and I just would love you forevers and evers if you would do all those things for me at the beginning. Right, so now they're out of the way. Today I'm going to be talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 for the Xbox One. This is going to be part of a new series, right? So I've not just decided out of nowhere that I'm going to cover Kingdom Hearts without doing Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2. Don't worry, I haven't gone that crazy. This is a part of a series that I've been planning on doing for a while. It's been in my plans since the middle of last year, really, as I've been going around collecting video games. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, I am a collector of retro games, specifically the Xbox 360. I collect a lot of license-based games, a lot of games that I grew up with when I was younger, and just kind of random and weird and wonderful games from the 360 era. And I've reviewed some in the past, some licensed games. But one thing that I found on my travels of looking for bargains, looking for deals, looking for licensed games, looking for collectible sort of games, that sort of thing, was that there were so many great games that are out there that are under £5. And I thought to myself, well, wouldn't I be interested? Do a series, because like you always see it on the Xbox store as well, whenever they have new deals every Tuesday, that there will be games that are absolute crackers, absolutely incredible games, or games that I've never heard of being sold for £5 or less. And, you know, some games I've done it and I've actually found these games are fantastic and are worth a lot more than £5. And then some, you know, are worth a fiver or less. You know, they're not worth a lot of money or as much they're being sold for. So I figured, wouldn't it be interesting to do a series where I look at digital games and physical games? And the whole idea is, and these are the rules that I've set myself, is the fact of rule number 1, the game has to cost £5 or less. It's not £5.10p, not £5.50, not £5.99. It has to be £5 stopped or less. So £4.99 is okay, £3.35, whatever, £3.25, £2, whatever. Those are the rules. It has to equivalent to £5 or less, right? It can be physical or digital. It can be old or new. And the way I'm going to structure this review is not just to review it, but I'm going to look at it as the fact of, is it worth a fiver? You know, have I found a bargain? Like, does this game be worth the idea of actually going out and spending £5 on it? Or would it have been better to be like, look, this was a pile of crap? Or is it a hidden gem? Is it something that, you know, oh yeah, it was a fiver, but I would have paid a lot more for this experience, you know? And over the months, as I've been planning and putting this idea together, I've accumulated quite a few digital and physical games that I bought for £5. And within deciding what to start off first, I thought, you know what, to start a new series, I'm going to start it with a bang. I'm going to start up with something big. I'm going to start off with a series that I've been interested in since I was a young'un, since I was a young bean, a tiny little ginger Luke, and a series that I've always wanted to get into, but never knew where to begin, never knew where to start. So why better than at the third game, which is actually not the third game, from what my friends who are hardcore Kingdom Hearts fans have told me. Kingdom Hearts 3 is not the third game in the series. It's actually the 13th game in the series, because you have all the PSP and Game Boy and DS versions that tell sort of continuations of the stories from the main games that are like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. And again, I'm not going to get into it because my friend confused me just by going into the basics. But I just thought it'd be interesting to start with a bang with a game like Kingdom Hearts 3. So, like I mentioned, my experience with Kingdom Hearts at all, which there is none really, is the fact of I've been interested in it for a long time. I love Disney. I was a Disney kid. We had Disney VHS that were my mother's when she was younger. We had always watched the Disney Channel, whether it be Disney animated, Disney movies, or House of Mouse. I loved Disney games. And again, like I said, I grew up with license-based games. So any sort of character that I recognize, whether it be Mickey Mouse or Shrek, any sort of licensed character that I saw on the screen, I wanted that game. Little did I know that Kingdom Hearts, it's not for kids, really. It's actually a lot darker and a lot more sort of gritty than anybody probably originally thought, really. You just see some interesting characters on the front, and then you've got Mickey, Donald, and Goofy in the background. You think, oh, this is the kids' game. Until you play it, you're like, yeah, this is not a kids' game at all. And I never got around to it. I never played Kingdom Hearts 1, never played Kingdom Hearts 2. I had no idea there was other prequel and sequel games that are on the Game Boy and DS and the PSP and all this jazz. I never knew any of this existed. But I was always interested. Something I always wanted to do. Something I always wanted to get into. Because again, it's Disney. I love Disney. I am a Disney fanboy. But again, never tried it. But I've always been interested. And I just figured that this would be an interesting topic to begin with because of that inexperience, because I have next to zero experience with the series, with the story. Like, I'm going in blind. I have no idea what I'm getting into. For all I know, I'm jumping into the deep end with sharks and I'm covered in blood. I'll probably get devoured and spit out really easily and be confused. And that's a high likelihood. But I have, from what friends have told me and a little bit of research myself before I started recording, is that the director of this game, he tried to do it in such a way that it caters not just for the hardcore sort of Kingdom Hearts fans, but also that it was a good entry point for people coming into Kingdom Hearts, that this being their first Kingdom Hearts game, so it made it easier for them as well. So I've got to take it as if that's what the director said, then we would do it that. But I just figured start off with a bang, start with Kingdom Hearts, start with a game I have no experience in whatsoever, and it'll be a good beta test to see if going in dark to such a huge, widely beloved series, that a game that I managed to pick up for £5 at CEX, is it a good idea? Is it a good idea to pay that much money, £5, that cheap entry fee for a series that I know nothing about, that I have no experience in, that I might completely hate or I might completely enjoy? And it might be the fact of, I pay £5 for this, but I would have paid more. And now I'm looking back and I want to go back and play Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and all the other Kingdom Hearts games, and that's kind of the idea and concept behind this series, is the fact of, can I find hidden gems? Can I find games that are worth more or worth less? I mean, that's the idea. So that's what I'm trying to get at, really. But yeah, so I'm excited to see where this takes me. I have played Kingdom Hearts 3 before, technically. I went to EGX, which is the European Games Expo here in the Midlands. They used they used to do it every year. They don't anymore. They do it in London now. But it was something I used to go to every year. It was a gaming convention, kind of on a smaller scale of E3 when E3 was around, and you'd have booths by other developers. And the last time I went, they had Kingdom Hearts 3, so 2019, 2018. So it's been a long time since I last went there. And I remember I stood in line because all my friends were big Kingdom Hearts fans, so I stood in line with them. I played the demo. I absolutely loved it. I was there all 4 days. I played the demo twice, and even though it was the same demo, it was still a lot of fun. I think it was the Toy Story demo that they had. I absolutely loved it. I thought it looked gorgeous. The gameplay was a lot of fun. It was different. It was unique. It was something that I'd never seen before. Because I'll admit, I play a lot. A lot of the video games I play are Western developed. I don't play many Japanese developed games. I'm not a Final Fantasy fan, which Final Fantasy links in with Kingdom Hearts. There are Final Fantasy characters in Kingdom Hearts. So because I was never a big sort of Final Fantasy sort of fan, I was never really big into these sort of Japanese type games. But as the years have gone on and I've started to play things like Resident Evil and Nier Automata and sort of games like this, and even playing games like Vanquish and Bayonetta, I'm slowly starting to get into these style of games, and I'm hoping to try more of them. And again, this might be a good introduction to this sort of series, not just Kingdom Hearts, but games like this, or even my sort of introduction to wanting to play more Final Fantasy games. Who knows? You know, the sort of potentiality for what this sub series could bring for me could be really high. But again, it won't be a loss at all because again, I only spent £5, and what's £5 really? You know, £5 when I was younger could buy you a lot. Nowadays, £5 can't buy you a lot. You know, so am I losing out? Am I not? These are the things that we're going to be looking at, and that's how basically the review is going to be structured. Is going to be sort of the review notes, what I thought, what I liked, what I didn't like, my first impressions, all that jazz as I do normally. And then at the end, it's going to be a tallying up of like, is it worth it? Is it not? At this point in sort of the introduction, I would be talking about the game's development, what went into it, all that jazz. But I'll be honest with you, it's too long, didn't read. Technically, I did read it because I had to, but I read the development on Wikipedia and I look at other things as well. And it's so long. There is so much that went into the development of this game. And then I spoke to friends of mine who I said, give me a crash course in Kingdom Hearts. And they laughed at me. And I was like, what are you laughing for? And they were like, it would take longer than a crash course. Like it would take me like a good week just to kind of explain the basics without even going into the sort of extra stuff. So my friends have for a while have been trying to kind of get me up to speed with it. I still have no idea what's going on. And then I'm going in very naive, going, I'm going to talk about the development. And then you look at the reels and reels and reels of text of development just for this one game, and then how it links into everything else, and then how you have to play this game to understand this game, and that how in sort of January 2015, Yasu revealed that working on HD 2.5 Remix simultaneously allowed developers to learn all the best qualities from the series to aid in Created Free. Additionally, he stated that Kingdom Hearts team was sharing knowledge with the Final Fantasy 15 team to expand the game and get the most out of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. That's just a small slice. There is tons more. You know, for example, at D23 Japan 2018, Square Enix revealed the game was being developed in 3 sections with approximately 3 worlds in each section. At that time, the worlds in the first section were said to be 90% complete, and development of the middle section of around 60%. No update was given on the final section of the game, though Nomura stated its contents were something he's always wanted to do and put into Kingdom Hearts. Again, small slice. Too long, didn't read, but there is so much. So if you are interested in the development, by all means, go onto Wikipedia, go online, read it. It is quite fascinating, quite interesting. But I knew that if I sat here and I read all this, that my dyslexia would have an overload, and this introduction would just be way too long. It is very fascinating, but not entirely. Not all of it is important. All you really need to know is that he spent a lot of time making this game, and he is a perfectionist, the developer of Kingdom Hearts, and that he wanted it to be the best version, the best sort of game that it could be. Obviously, a lot of people were waiting for Kingdom Hearts for years, especially Kingdom Hearts 3. And when it finally was announced and revealed, he wanted to make sure that the game was as perfect as possible. That is sort of the long and short of it in the layman's terms, is that he just wanted the game to be as perfect as possible. He wanted to put everything he could into it, and make sure that the game did everything that he wanted it to do and be, and played and felt like, really. And it felt like a next gen version of the Kingdom Hearts story, as well as a continuation of that story. Again, so that is the long and short of it, really. So you don't have to read it if you don't want. I've just gave you sort of the long and short of it. But if you want to read it, if you are a fan, if you are interested, by all means, go and read it. But I'm sure if you're a fan, listen to this, you probably know it all already. But yeah, so because I'm not doing that whole development, this introduction is more than likely going to be a lot shorter. But just to rehash, just to kind of mention it again, I'm going to go off now, play the game, and then what you hear next is sort of my review, sort of what I think, what I liked, what I didn't like, and at the end is where I'm going to sort of come together and just to see if it was worth it, if it was worth the entry fee, or is this game worth a lot more, that would I have paid more, that sort of thing. Was it a loss or was it a gain? That's basically it. So let's see if this experiment of mine works. If it does, we might see more in the series. So without further ado, let's get into Kingdom Hearts, shall we? Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I've not long finished playing Kingdom Hearts 3. We'll tell the honest truth. I finished playing it a good few hours ago. But I've wanted to sort of think about what I thought of the game, what I thought of the story, sort of my first impressions, my interpretation of the story, as well as breaking down the different concepts and things that come up in the game. And now, usually with a game, any sort of review I do, I tend to take a day or two off before I actually get around to recording. And then sometimes I like to go straight into it. And with this, it was kind of the same sort of thing, where I debated whether or not I should leave it a day or two, if I should bring my thoughts together. But I thought, no, it's best to do it as soon as possible while my thoughts are fresh and while my thoughts are very much present. So straight off the bat, so my first impressions of the game is that I really, really enjoyed it. It would have been nice going into it to my friends or someone to tell me how much of a movie it is. To be honest, I would say this is more movie than video game. I feel like I actually sat and watched cutscenes more than I actually interacted with it. It's like an interactable movie. And every now and then I was able to take control and actually do a bit of fighting or running around in wonderful, beautifully gorgeous worlds. And it felt like Studio Ghibli. It felt like an anime. It felt like I was just watching a film, and which is fantastic. And I was trying to pay attention to everything that was told to me, everything that was said. And obviously, I jumped straight into the deep end with the third game, so I knew there were going to be things that I didn't know, that I wouldn't understand. But I tried to watch them all, and some of these are long. Like, I think my end sort of run time overall of just playing the game from start to finish, I think was about 1 day and about 8 hours or so in total. Like, obviously it took me a few days, but in total playtime, it's about a day and 8 hours just to get through it. And majority of that is watching long form movie quality cutscenes. And then especially the ending, which I won't talk about the ending today, because, well, I'll get to a certain point and I'll stop talking about it. But when you get to the ending, there is epic set pieces and there are epic moments where you actually get to physically get involved. But majority of the time, it is just a lot of sort of exposition dump and cutscenes, which makes sense because it's the third game in a very long series, probably the 13th game in the storyline. So I would imagine that a lot of people wanted a lot of payoff and a lot of sort of wrapping up certain things that have happened that obviously I'm not privy to. But I can imagine for fans, this is fantastic, and they want to see long form sort of battles and cutscenes and things like that. So yeah, but that's kind of my first impressions. Is that I really liked it, I really enjoyed it. But like, if you haven't played Kingdom Hearts, I think you'll still get enjoyment out of it. And I'll sort of give my interpretation of the story in a minute. But I don't feel like you'll get overly lost. Like I said, I came into this knowing nothing about Kingdom Hearts, and knowing me, I had to start with the first game of a new series to be the longest one ever. But that being said, I didn't really feel lost much. I felt like I was able to understand what was going on and why I was there and why Sora was there and who Donald and Goofy, what kind of characters they are and the meaning of the story. I never felt lost. And as I mentioned in the introduction, the director of this game really wanted it to be how can I explain it? So that people who didn't know anything about Kingdom Hearts, who were jumping on it new, could play it and enjoy it, and that fans of old could also jump on and enjoy it. Or if fans that have only played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and never played any of the other sort of video games before, that they are able to jump in and sort of understand what's going on with the story. And in that sort of sense, it succeeds. It does a fantastic job because I'd never really felt lost. There were things that I was like, well, I know if I'd played this game or if I was more of a fan, maybe I'd be able to enjoy these moments more often or these reveals. But from what sort of an outsider's perspective on it, I enjoyed it. I would say overall, get ready for long form sort of animated cinematics. Get ready for that. Get ready for a lot of moments where if you're not a fan, you might be a bit confused, or characters that you're meant to be emotional or excited for, you might not be. But that's not a bad thing. I think overall, I think you'd have a lot of fun. I did. I really enjoyed myself here, and I just wish that I'd known going in this sort of how long these cinematics would have been, and I could have prepared myself more, because there were many moments where I was like, well, this is interesting, but I kind of want to keep playing. I don't want to put the controller down and watch. And many times I'd put the controller down and these cutscenes went on for that long that my controller would go off, not realize it's gone off. And then because it's gone off, you'd get the achievements things on the Xbox being like, are you still there? Sort of thing. And then my TV turned off once as well because I wasn't paying attention. Well, I was paying attention, but I wasn't paying attention that things were starting to shut down because how long it was running. And eventually the TV turned off because I wasn't interacting with the Xbox. So the TV was like, well, it's not being used. Yeah, it was one of these sort of moments. But yeah, my first impressions overall is that it's really good. I generally enjoyed myself, and I would recommend it to anybody really. If you're a fan, I think if you're a fan, you've probably already played it. But if you're looking to get into Kingdom Hearts, but you don't know where to begin, obviously the beginning is always the best place to start. But if you don't want to start from the beginning and you just want to jump in, this is a good place to jump in. Again, that's my opinion. I'm sure there's hardcore fans listening to this going, no, you're wrong. And more than likely I am, and I completely agree with you. But from my perspective, a guy looking on the outside, looking in, and starting here, I'd say it's a good introduction, a good way, because it does a good job of getting you up to speed of what's going on so far in the story to a point where it's understandable. And this leads me into sort of my interpretation of the story. Now, again, I might be wrong in my interpretation. I might be the sort of Baron Zemo in Falcon and Winter Soldier, where he explains something and Falcon goes like he's way out of line, but he makes a good point. I might be like that, or I might be spot on. We will see. But my interpretation of the story, without going into any spoilers, which to be honest, I don't even know what classes as a spoiler and what doesn't, because it's such a long story. Even though I'd never played Kingdom Hearts before, I knew how vast and how huge this world was and this story was and how many games it has spanned over. And again, like I said, I've had many Kingdom Hearts friends who have tried to explain it to me in the past, and I've got completely lost. But my sort of interpretation of this story and Kingdom Hearts in general is that it revolves around the idea of togetherness and friendship and love, and the idea that you have... it again, I don't even have to best explain it really. it's more just the fact of Sora is working for the sort of the good guys, the light bearers, trying to defeat the darkness, the organization, trying to defeat the heartless, basically, and that the idea is that all the power that you need inside yourself is in your heart. There's a lot of love, and there's a lot of. I feel like just trying to interpret it. I feel like I'm wrong, and more than likely I am. But yeah, my best way of interpreting it is just friendship and love and togetherness, and that Sora goes on a journey through this game where he learns all these things, where he goes to see characters like Hercules and Woody and Buzz and Mike and Sully from like Monsters Inc. And each time that he meets a different person in a different land, they teach him a different lesson of how to be sort of selfless, how to be brave, how to what love means to other people, the different meanings of love, and showing that you care for somebody and that you show that you care, that you have feelings for a friend or somebody that you love. And that's sort of my interpretation, is just it's all about love. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. It just feels like love and friendship are the overarching sort of structure of it, and that there are those in the world that want to keep the love and selflessness and bravery and all the things that make a human, or make a person or an object or a thing. So the idea of a heart, the concept of a soul, better yet, there are people that want to keep the way it is, and there are those that want to use it and use it for evil, basically, which is the organization and the nobodies and the heartless. More than likely, I'm incredibly wrong. I have a feeling I am, but that was just my interpretation of it. But from what I could grasp and what I could get, I enjoyed it. Like I said, even though I had no idea what was going on at times, I still had fun. I'm a big Disney and Pixar fan, so even at times where I was getting lost, I was like, "Oh look, there's Woody, and there's Buzz, and there's Mike, and there's Tangled, and there's the 100 Acre Wood, Winnie the Pooh, and Jack Sparrow, and Big Hero 6, and all these wonderful places." And I got to meet Remy. I love Remy. I love Ratatouille. And I got to meet him, and I got to cook dishes with Remy, or Little Chef as they call him. I got to meet Merlin from The Sword and the Stone, which I love. The Sword and the Stone. It's one of my favorite classic Disney movies. And it was these moments of like, yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I'm enjoying myself because I'm going to worlds I get to go to. Especially how a lot of these worlds, a lot of these places you get to go to, which I'll talk about in a minute, didn't get video games. And as everybody knows who's listened to this, well, I hope people know who listen to this, I'm a big fan of license-based games. I've actually reviewed a few license-based games in the past on the channel, on the podcast, and I'm planning to do more in the future. So to go to these licensed worlds, especially how some of them never got sort of video games on the Xbox or PlayStation or any sort of console, it was wonderful to go to those places. So yes, I might not understood the story so much, but I had a whale of a time. And to me, that's still worth it. I can't go through years and years of explaining Kingdom Hearts to people when I jumped in the deep end. Okay, don't crucify me. I tried my best, but I enjoyed it for what it was and what I could experience, especially the end. I don't think the ending was made for me. I think the ending was made for hardcore fans. But yeah, I won't go into any more detail than that because I don't want to ruin it. Anyway, so I'm going to start breaking down sort of the different worlds that you visit from sort of the first world you visit, work our way down. So the first world you go to is Olympus, where you get to see Hercules. It's fantastic. You've got Hercules and Hades. Hades is once again trying to sort of take over Olympus and bring back the Titans. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a great tutorial world. It's the first world you come to, and it's the world that kind of teaches you all the ins and outs, all the mechanics of what to do, how the game works, how spells work, how attacking works, how dodging works, how you can, like sort of Neo at the Matrix, how you can climb up walls. And which walls you can climb up and you can't, and things like that. I really enjoyed my time in Olympus. I had a lot of fun, and like I said, it's a fantastic tutorial world. And it's nice to see Hercules. It's nice to see the Titans, and like I said, never got to play the original Hercules game, which is like absolutely famous now for being one of the best looking PlayStation 1 games of all time. one of the most difficult as well. But never got to play that on the console. To be able to run around Olympus, run around Thebes, not Thebes, that's Egyptian. Where was it now? Where Hercules, the city, is it Thebes? No, it's not. I don't know, but being able to run around there while it's been destroyed by Titans, absolutely fantastic. And not, might I mention, this game runs on Unreal Engine, and it looks unreal. It looks gorgeous. There are many places that you go to, especially when we get to like what's it called now? The Kingdom of Corona, Corona, whatever. The Tangled World. That's probably the most gorgeous world in this whole game. But we'll get there. Then after you've met Hercules, you've saved the day. You go to Twilight Town. Twilight Town was probably the only place that we went to where I generally felt like I needed to do homework, where I felt like I have no idea what's going on here. I don't know why we're here. I don't recognize this town. I don't recognize it from Disney or anything like that. So this was the part where it was like it felt proper Kingdom Hearts, where it was like you needed to know what was going on in the story to understand what was going on here and who the characters are that you meet and why and things like that. But I still managed to get through it and sort of enjoy it for what it was. And you also get the gummy phone here. And here you get to use the gummy phone to take pictures of secret emblems or take pictures of yourself or take pictures of the other characters. I mostly use the gummy phone to take pictures of like Mickey and Donald, and I used it to take pictures of Remy and Merlin and all the other characters that I meet in all the other worlds. I even went back to Olympus to go around and find some of the lucky emblems, these little Mickey Mouse figures. If you ever go to Disneyland, Disney World, they have hidden Mickey sort of emblems around the parks. It's become a big thing now. People looking from hunting, and some of them are hidden quite cleverly. And to be honest, I remember from playing Epic Mickey 2. I think Epic Mickey 2 did the same thing. So I went around Olympus and trying to remember where I saw certain ones before I had the phone, and taking pictures of them and taking pictures of Hercules and things like that. It was pretty fantastic. But yeah, it's probably the only place in the game where I generally thought I have no idea what's going on here. There's a lot of exposition dump, and I have no idea what any of it means. Then we go off to sort of the toy box, the Toy Story world. It was lovely being back in the Toy Story world. Toy Story characters haven't looked this gorgeous since Toy Story 3 on the Xbox 360. If you haven't played Toy Story 3, the tie-in video game, do yourself a favor, give it a go. It's one of the best license-based games I've ever played, especially for the toy box alone. Absolutely incredible. But it was wonderful, and like what I love about it is the fact of you have Buzz, because like the whole idea between Toy Story and the whole idea between the sort of the Pixar theory is that the toys are alive because they have the love of a child. Obviously, I'm not going to go into the whole Pixar theory. It's a very long one, very fascinating, but I'm not going to go into today. But one thing that I love when it comes to the Toy Story world is that the reason toys started to come to life was because the magic of children, and that children giving something love and attention brings it alive. That's why when you went to like a toy store, a lot of the toys would be alive because kids go there all the time. And their imagination and their love for something, they use their hearts, brings these objects to life. And again, in Toy Story 4, Forky, who is a spork, because Bonnie puts some eyes on it, gives it a name, and says, "This is Forky," it comes alive, even though it's not a toy, it's a spork. But in her mind, it's a toy. It's her new favorite toy, so it comes alive. And I love how it kind of ties into that, and also ties into the story of like you have the organization trying to figure out as to why these inanimate objects are coming alive, why they're alive, why without hearts that they are sentient, basically. And so that really fascinated me. And then you have Buzz. Basically, Buzz doesn't trust. It kind of the Buzz goes into the role that Woody was in the first Toy Story movie, where he's like, I don't trust Sora, I don't trust Donald or Goofy. I don't know them. For all I know, they could have brought the Heartless here. They could be the bad guys. Why should we trust them? And then Woody being Woody, he's like, oh, we'll give him a chance. So that was interesting. To be honest, probably one of the funnest places in the game, because you get to drive like giant toy mechs, and you get to oh, just fantastic. Like the gameplay itself, the gameplay is incredible because like as you play and as you level up, you unlock abilities, and with each ability you unlock, you do so much more things, and then you have so many more combos. You can do combos in the air. You can have an ability that when you get hit in the air, you can do a quick counter attack, and then you can do like 50% extra damage. You can attack straight away, and then you have these like attraction spells. I'm not sure what they're called, but they're attraction spells where you can like ride the pirate ship from like the Bounty pirate ship from Disneyland, or you can do the Mad Hatter's spinning cups, or the magical carousel, or space blasters, or Thunder Mountain, which is my favorite one because you can just take down tons of Heartless and Titans with this huge choo-choo train. And what other game lets you destroy a Titan with a choo-choo? I don't know what game does. This game does, and it was epic, right? It was absolutely incredible. So to be able to tie all that in as well, just by playing the game, just by taking down Heartless and getting more powerful, that there are more epic things you can do. And then you add in the toy element of it, and you can jump into mechs and do things like that. It just, my mind was just, like this was what I played a demo of this. I think I mentioned it in the introduction. I played a demo of Kingdom Hearts 3 when I went to EGX, the European Games Expo here in the UK. The demo that I played was actually in Toy Story World, and how beautiful and gorgeous that looked. It won me over. I was like, I've got to give this a go. And I've only now given it a go after ages ago when this game came out. But it was one of those where I was like, I've got to play this demo. I love Toy Story. And it floored me. I was just like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. And actually obviously that was a demo, so it wasn't finalized when it wasn't finished. But playing it now, it being finished, magnifique, gorgeous. Then we go to the Kingdom of Corona, which is Tangled. I am going to say something now where a lot of people might disagree with me. A lot of people might agree with me. But I believe this in my heart, holy, and no one's going to change my mind. But I think that Tangled is way better than Frozen. In my opinion, Frozen doesn't deserve this. It's good, but it doesn't deserve the success that it's gotten, and that Tangled should have been the film that blew up. It's got better characters, better songs. I'm more interested in Pascal than I am in Olaf. I feel like Pascal, he has no words, but he's so funny and so much more interesting as a character just by his body language and the things he does. You got Maximus, frying pans, who knew? She's knocking people out of frying pans, fantastic. I Have a Dream, that song, love it. Yeah, so I love Tangled. I'm a huge Tangled fan. I'm a huge Tangled defender. And being able to go to the story of Tangled, to meet Flynn, to meet Rapunzel, the story basically plays out from beginning to end of the movie, and you kind of get to follow on the story. And it's just lovely being here. It's a fantastic experience. I mean, again, this never got a licensed game. So to be able to run around this world, as well as sort of doing the Kingdom Hearts stuff, but just seeing the story again and just seeing how good the story is, all done, redone again in Unreal Engine. Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. And this world, Corona, is the most beautiful world of them all. Of all the worlds you go to, it's the most detailed. It's the most vibrant. You know, the moments where you're running through the grass and the grass moves, and as you're running through plants, you'll get bits of pollen and things like that will start coming off the plants. It's gorgeous and it's beautiful, and Tangled is amazing, and it's just I've got no other words to say. It was lovely to be back in this world, and it made me wish that we got more Tangled, and that, you know, Frozen was good, but it didn't need a sequel. It shouldn't have blown up. I would have preferred a Tangled 2, and I still want a Tangled 2. Probably won't get one. But yeah, I just think Tangled is better, and it was lovely to go back to this world. Then, sort of after Tangled, we went to Metropolis, the world of Monsters Inc. And what I loved about the story, I am currently watching a show on Disney Plus called Monsters at Work. If you haven't watched it, it's on Disney Plus. Highly recommend give it a go. It's aimed at kids, but it's quite hilarious, and there are a lot of adult jokes and references in it, which I really enjoy. But what I love about that show is the fact of it's set before the sort of end. So without going to spoilers, it's set before after the first movie, but before Sully and Mike go visit Boo for the first time at the end of the first movie. Without it will make sense if you watch the show. It's hard to explain, right? I haven't started watching season 2 yet. I've got around to watching season 2. It's recently came out. But what I love about that show is that it interconnects the world of Monsters Inc. And that it kind of shows you what happens behind the scenes of what goes into this new world of Monster Incorporated, where they're trying to incorporate laughs. What I love about this story in Kingdom Hearts 3 is the fact of it's kind of a sequel to Monsters Inc. Whereas, like, when Sora and Donald and Goofy get there, Mike and Sully already have Boo, and it's already was quickly set up that they take her out often to play around with her, and that she's still a little girl, and that every now and then they go visit her and they have a play in sort of the what's the word I'm looking for? They have a play in Monsters Incorporated when everybody's gone home. They go visit her, and for me, that broke my heart and was absolutely lovely. And it was such a sort of sort of moment, and it was nice just to kind of get that continuation. I really appreciate it for that. So yeah, this one was a lot of fun. Again, we had Randall. He's trying to ruin the day, but again, we ruin Randall's day. We actually find out what happened to Randall, and that basically when they sent him off at the end of the movie, they kept trying to turn him into a wallet, trying to kill him and skin him and turn him into a wallet, and that he managed to get back with the help of I think it was the organization that brought him back, or did he bring himself back? I can't remember. I was just sort of like taken aback by the idea that I'm sort of playing the sequel to Monsters Inc. And it was wonderful. It was great. And then one of my favorite places to go, because I'm a huge fan of this character in this world, you get to go to the 100-Acre Wood. And if anybody knows me, knows how much I love Winnie the Pooh. I love Winnie the Pooh so much. I have read all the original books of Winnie the Pooh. I've watched all of the movies, the long movies and the sort of short story sort of movies. Winnie the Pooh's Grand Adventure, had it on video, watched it on repeat constantly. It's still pretty great. It has a absolutely fantastic story and music in it. I even loved watching the Christopher Robin, the newest one, where you've got Hugh McGregor. That made me cry. I can't watch that movie without crying. But I absolutely adore Winnie the Pooh. So to go back to 100-Acre Wood, we'll say go there for the first time, or go back for me being in my childhood, was lovely. The only downside I have about going to the 100-Acre Wood is that you're not there long enough. You don't really do anything there. It's mostly just mini games. You go there to help Rabbit with his garden and with his plants. And then the way you help him is by doing the mini games, but each mini game's the same. It's like a type of Connect 4 meets Bejeweled sort of thing. So you've got to connect up certain vegetable types, or you've got to connect certain flower types. And it was fun. But it's not something that I would come back to do. I'd probably come back, take pictures of me and Winnie the Pooh and that sort of thing on my gummy phone. But I wouldn't come here to play the mini games. And it kind of felt a bit like, oh, well, you've allowed me to come back into 100-Acre Wood, and I get to see Winnie the Pooh. Sora and Winnie are best friends, apparently. And that it's a really heartbreaking moment where Winnie the Pooh basically says, I thought I'd lost you. It felt like I'd lost you, that I could no longer feel you. And it's a very heartfelt sort of moment. And they sort of rekindle their friendship. And it was absolutely wonderful. But you're not there long enough. It's kind of the fact of you come, you help Rabbit, you do mini games, you have that little heart to heart between Pooh and Sora, and then that's it, really. And I'm like, well, don't tease me with 100-Acre Wood and not give me the 100-Acre Wood. It was a bit of a bummer. It really was. But it is what it is. But it was nice to be back in Winnie the Pooh. And I took a lot of pictures in 100-Acre Wood. I took pictures of everybody. I took selfie. Like, you do a moment where you get the camera, you do a selfie with Sora and a character. I did a lot of those with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. I've got to review one of the days Winnie the Pooh for the podcast. I don't care how old I am. I'm going to have to review it one day. And then, not the worst. Well, it was kind of the worst, but it wasn't the worst for what I'm going to explain. So the next world you go to is Arendelle, which is Frozen. And when I got there, I didn't mind that we're going to go there because I knew Frozen is popular. People like it. So, of course, Frozen was going to be in it. One thing that I sat there and I was going, for please, for all that is holy, don't redo the whole story, and don't do the whole song of Let It Go. And what happens? That happens. Exactly that. Just like Tangled, they retell the whole story. A few things here and there are missed because, to be honest with you, you spend majority of the time trying to get up to Elsa at the top of the mountain, and twice you get to the top and you get knocked down twice. So majority of the Frozen story, you've just got Sora, Mickey, and Donald trying to get up the mountain and being pushed down first by somebody in the organization. The second time was by Marshmallow, the giant monster. And yeah, it's one of those where it's like, this is a bit of a nightmare. But there was a moment, and I had to laugh because I knew they were going to do it, and they did do it, but how they did it was kind of funny. So they did the whole Let It Go sequence, exactly how it is in the movie, beat for beat. It was exactly the same, just done in Unreal Engine. And what made me laugh, that while Elsa's doing sort of Let It Go song, you've just got Donald, Mickey, and Goofy. No, you got Donald, Sora, and Goofy, who are trying to get up this mountain and just perplexed, being like, "Why is she singing to herself for? Why is she singing Let It Go? Who's she singing to?" And they're there in the background struggling, trying to get up this mountain, and there she's having the time of her life, going, "Let it go," and that bit made me chuckle. It really did, but it was still one of those of like, they had to do it, didn't they? They really did. But again, the storylines there's interesting. The whole idea of a frozen heart, and how is it that you take somebody who has a frozen heart? Obviously, you know the story of Frozen. We all do. How that through the love of loved ones, of a sister and a sister, or family members, that you can thaw a frozen heart. That the true love doesn't have to be true love as in a partner. A true love can be best friend or family member. And as it linked into the Kingdom Hearts in this story, it was quite interesting. I just didn't need the whole. I didn't really need a recap of the whole movie. You know what I mean? That kind of bothered. But they could have done what they did with Monsters Inc., where it could have been the fact of continuation. What happens next? Because I feel I did this. I think this came out before Frozen 2. I'm not even going to Google it. I don't care. But either way, I would have preferred that. Would have seen what happened afterwards. I don't need to see Let It Go again. I had enough of it when it came out, and it hasn't stopped since. Well, it's starting to slow down now, but until they make another Frozen film. I don't hate Frozen. I know it comes off as I do. It's just more just the fact of I'm just sort of, I am Tangled envy, that Tangled wasn't more successful and Frozen was. That is all, basically. Anyway, the next world you get to go to the Caribbean, Pirates of the Caribbean. This is probably the most, like, if the Kingdom of Corona, the Tangled, is the most gorgeous, this world is the most detailed, the most realistic. Everything looks real. It looks next gen. It looks next level. The detail on the characters, the detail on the cinematics, everything just looks next level. And if you've been listening to the podcast, you know I'm a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan. So it was absolutely, I was in awe at the whole time, just running around, having my own pirate ship, the Leviathan, and having a simplified version of what you get in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, where you get to drive around in your ship and you get to take down other ships. That was incredible. I get to go off the ship and swim around in the ocean and go to islands and scavenge islands for lucky emblems and loot boxes, or sorry, treasure chests. They're not loot boxes, treasure chests, where all the best loot and all the best resources are for upgrading my Keyblade. I spent probably the most time there playing around in that world, just because I love pirates so much. And then getting to fight Davy Jones at the end of it. Again, I never got to play the Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End on the Xbox 360. I am planning on eventually getting it and playing it and reviewing it, maybe, because I've already reviewed the movie. But I do want to play it so I never got to experience playing through Pirates of the Caribbean, apart from the Bethesda one that came out on the original Xbox, which was Pirates of the Caribbean, but had nothing to do with the movie. But that's a topic for another day. But yeah, it was. There's no other words. It was just fantastic. And before I get into the second last one, this is what I loved so much about this game. Even though I didn't know what was going on, even though I didn't have any idea really in terms of why certain characters had felt the way they did. I tried my best, and I again, as you heard in my interpretation, it wasn't fantastic, but I feel like I understood it a little bit. Maybe I don't know. But I was just perplexed the whole time. I was just in awe of everything that could see, all the adventure, all of the incredible places I got to go, all the characters I didn't get to see. And I'm sitting there thinking, what other places would I like to go to? I would love to go to, like in Pixar, I'd love to go to Up. I'd love to see Carl and go to Paradise Falls. I'd like to go to see Wall-E. I'd like to trying to think not Encanto. Well, Encanto would be good, but Elemental. That world and those characters was fantastic. Luca, I love Luca. That'd be a nice one to go to as well. Sort of Italian sort of setting. So, yeah, I was just going through and going, I love going around these worlds, but what other worlds would I like to go to? If they made a Kingdom Hearts 4, if they made another one, which I feel like they might do, considering how this game ends, where else could they go? Where new could they go? And that's what I was thinking to myself. Like, I'd love to go to like see Wall-E. That would be fantastic. And Sora gets turned into a version of a robot. That'd be incredible. And then finally, so the last place you get to go to before you get to sort of the big climactic sort of ending, which is not really an ending because it's more like an epilogue. It's like a very long epilogue. But the last place you go to is San Francisco from Big Hero 6. This was another nice surprise because, again, Big Hero 6, it should have been more successful than it was, and it was successful. But for some unknown reason, Disney has, as of yet, not made a sequel to Big Hero 6, and at this point, I don't think they will. They did Baymax, which was a sort of a short on Disney Plus, but in terms of actually anything Big Hero 6 sequel related, they haven't done anything. So this is probably the closest anybody's going to get to a sequel to Big Hero 6 because it's a continuation after the events of Big Hero 6. What happens in it and the events really sort of add into what would happen with the characters after that. Obviously, I don't want to go into spoilers for this one because I feel like this one, if you're a Big Hero 6 fan, it's a nice little surprise. It was one of those that really made me smile, but it also made me think of that I would want to. Oh, it's not the Kingdom Hearts part of it, but I would really want a sequel. It's a shame we haven't got a sequel, but to fly around as Baymax, a special ability, to see all the other characters, to be able to have an open world of San Fran, Tokyo, run around and climb up buildings like I'm Neo from the Matrix and jump off them and dive bombing enemies, all absolutely incredible. And it reminded me of like the Incredible Hulk and prototyping games like that, where I could just run off walls and jump off walls and jump from one building to the next and fight endless on roofs and then jump from one roof to the other, and then midair take out a Heartless flying around, that sort of thing. Being able to do all these sort of things, it was fantastic. And the gameplay changes. The gameplay is always the same, but every world you go to, you get new enemies. So you have to change the way that you fight. You have to change sort of what abilities you use, what magic works here and what magic doesn't, things like that. And the customizations is fantastic as well. How you can customize the sort of, instead of having to scroll through these abilities sort of list to pick up a spell, you could just press LB if you do your shortcuts, and that way you can be like, I want fire, I want water, I want to heal myself, I want thunder, I want sort of a special link power where I can call in Simba from the Lion King, and he's covered in fire and he just decimates the world of fire and pounces on people and roars fire. It's absolutely fantastic power. it makes it easier. It makes the combat a lot more smooth than having to scroll down, click something, and then it does it. You can just repeatedly press it, and it does it. So yeah, everything about this game is just wonderful. But those are the worlds that you go to before, obviously, you start getting to the big prologue. I'm not going to talk about what happens next for two reasons. And first one is because I'm being serious, and second one is for comedy. First of all, spoilers, and two, I was lost. Honestly, to be honest, I was that lost. I don't even know if what I say is spoilers or not, because I'm not really sure what went on. Like I mentioned, the ending of this, once you had finished all the worlds and you'd gotten to a certain level, you get to the part where things start taking place, things start happening, and sort of the cinematics get longer. And when I say longer, I mean longer, like close to being short film sort of lengths in some of them. And to be honest, if it wasn't for those, I probably would have finished this game a lot longer. But this is when those cinematics got longer and it felt more like a movie. And yeah, it was one of those where it was like, I've had my fun. Now things are getting serious, and now I'm generally lost because there's characters that appear and there's things that happen that it's just one of those where it's like, oh, I feel like I'd enjoy this more if I'd played other Kingdom Hearts games. But because I haven't, it's one of those where I'm along for the ride, but I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, to be honest. But it was epic. And it was difficult. The final boss, it's in stages. It's not just like defeat the boss once and that's it. You saved the day. Hooray. No. It was more just the fact of, okay, you beat the boss once, beat him again. Now you've got to beat him here, and then you've got to beat him there, and then you've got to beat him in this level, and then you got to beat him on this map. And it was very tedious and very long. And that, like, there were times at the final battle where I get so close to killing him, and then he'd get a really sneaky hit on me before I could have a potion or heal myself. Or I'm shouting at Donald, being like, "Donald, heal me! What are you doing, Donald? Why are you not healing me?" Because he's meant to be the mage, he's meant to be healing me, and he wasn't. It was really annoying. And the sort of end boss would get a hit on me, and then I'd die, and then I'd sort of replay back to where the fight, sort of partly where the fight got to, and I'd have to chuck all his health in, because again, it's not just you've got a big health bar, you've got the big health bar, then you've got little widgets underneath the health bar. So you take one health bar out, that takes one widget out, then another widget comes and refills it again. So these battles are just a lot of button mashing, pressing the A button and doing different types of magic and bobbing and weaving. It just got tedious. It was like, I'm playing on standard difficulty, but I feel like I'm playing sort of expert at this point, because it just got so unfair and so tedious. But I managed to do it, and it wasn't great because it's currently like it was like 24, 27 degrees. My Xbox is really hot. I'm really, really hot. My hands are getting hot and sweaty and clammy because, well, one, it's hot, and two, I'm gripping the controller because I'm trying not to get frustrated while this guy keeps kicking my ass. And it was one of those where I was like, when I was finished, I was like, finally. And then you had a huge long cutscene, and you got the ending, and well, yeah, I'm not going to talk about it, but it was nice. But it's one of those where it was like, finally, I'm glad it took me forever to kill this guy, and now I get a nice little movie to watch. And then I put the controller down, I just lay there, I'm like, I'm knackered. And then finally the game ended, and it was like, oh, okay, it's ended now. But yeah, so my overall thoughts on the game is that I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Yes, I was lost at times, and yes, I was a bit confused. But I don't feel like that should put anybody off, if you want the honest truth. I don't think it should, because at the end of the day, for what this game is, like, you're jumping in to something that is like 13 games deep at this stage, right? And I get it, that's very intimidating. But as I mentioned, the director did a fantastic job of making sure that even though you might not know what's completely going on, you don't know the full sort of ins and outs, but you'll be able to understand it enough to enjoy it. And that's basically where I'm at this point, is the fact of, I got to go to a lot of worlds and places that I grew up with, and to talk to characters and to interact with characters that mean a lot to me, have a lot of nostalgia. I got to go to wonderfully crafted and beautiful worlds. The gameplay was incredible. It's a lot of fun. And the parts that, even though I couldn't understand the overall story, the parts were like, as I mentioned with Toy Story, and it links to like the idea of the Pixar theory and the toys, and that they don't have hearts but they're alive, and all that sort of thing, of like these different moments in, like in Monsters Inc. as well, where you got to see the continuation of Monsters Inc. of what uh, Sully and Mike are doing with Boo now, and that sort of thing. Like, even though I couldn't understand the overarching story, I could understand what was going on with the characters that I already knew and that were established for me. And I feel like that's enough. So, as I mentioned in the introduction, if I'm going to give it a yay or nay, if it's worth the £5, if it's not worth the £5, 100%, I would say it's worth the £5 entry fee. For what you get for £5, especially where not just talking about the gameplay, not just talking about going to all these Disney places, for what you get in terms of story, it's incredible. It's immense. Granted, you might not know everything unless you're a hardcore fan, but you'll enjoy it just the same. The gameplay was fun. If you love Disney, if you love Pixar, you're going to absolutely enjoy it there. And like I even mentioned the gummy ship. You get a spaceship that, like, it's not even that important really, but it is important because it's one of those where you can spend a lot of time crafting. You like flying around these little space hubs, going from planet to planet, these different worlds, and you can find treasure vaults that remind me of Treasure Planet. You can find different materials that helps you best to level up your ship and find new parts of the ship, so you can customize your ship. All these things probably have been added DLC, but it's just here for free. You can just do it. You can have a customizer. You don't have to customize. The idea, you get to see Remy and you get to cook with Remy, and that it has a function, that it's not just the fact of you get to make things and you find ingredients throughout the world and you just get to make things and that's it, you've done it. It's the fact of you get to make something and then you eat it, and then it gives you a damage buff or a defense buff or a bit of everything. And the more ingredients you find, the more rare ingredients you find, the more mini games you get to play, these cooking mini games that are not all easy. They're pretty difficult, to be honest, especially if you want to get excellent. They're not easy at all. But again, in any other game, that would have been DLC or that would have been something extra. But here, you can just do it. So it's definitely worth the £5 entry fee. If anything, I would have happily paid more for this. I would have happily paid £10 to £15, maybe more, for this. For the experience alone of being able to have the nostalgia, go back to worlds that I enjoy. So yeah, is it worth it? Yes, it's worth the £5 entry fee. I found it for £5 at CEX. You might be able to find it cheaper somewhere else, but if you're here in the UK, they set it for £5 currently as a recording this. Definitely jump on it if you haven't played it. Yeah, I've got nothing else to say with it. It was just generally a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I do hope there is a Kingdom Hearts 4, and that one I'd be interested in playing. I'd be interested in jumping on, because even though, again, I haven't got the knowledge of all 13 past games, I feel like where this game ends, I feel like I know what is to come next, where I am to go, what I am to do, the story, X, Y, and Z, and all that. I don't feel lost, basically. I feel like if I played Kingdom Hearts 4 or whatever comes next, I will know what it is I am doing or where I'm going, basically, in terms of the story and with these characters. So I'm interested. I'm excited. But yeah, so that is the end of sort of my sort of review, end of the first episode of my £5 game review. Let me know if you liked it. If you listen to this on YouTube, please leave a comment down below if you liked it or if you didn't. If my interpretation of Kingdom Hearts is completely wrong, and more than likely it is. Be gentle with me. Like I said, I'm a novice coming into it in the first time, so more than likely I'll be completely wrong. And yeah, let me know in the comments if I got things right or wrong, all that jazz. I am interested in learning about this world now. I have become a bit of a fan, so I'm more everything, as long as it's in a nice way, by all means, sort of educate me and let me know about this world and these characters as much as you can, because I know how huge they are. Yeah, or like leave me sort of feedback on Twitter or DM me on Discord or Twitter or whatever. Again, I love to hear what people think about these £5 game reviews. Like I said, I've got more in the pipeline coming. The next game I'm going to be looking at is Escape from Dead Island for the Xbox 360. This game's always on sale. If I remember correctly, I think I paid either £2 or £1.60 or something like that. It was very, very short. This game's always on sale constantly. It's always one for some unknown reason that is just always 100% on sale. So that'll be the next one I'm going to play. It's going to be a lot shorter, so it shouldn't take me as long to play and complete it. But I'm looking forward to it. I love Dead Island. I played Dead Island 1. I played Dead Island Riptide. I played Dead Island 2. Currently, as of recording this, I've played all the DLC with a friend of mine. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see sort of a Dead Island game that I haven't played before, and if it's worth it or if it's not. I've heard mixed things about it. I've heard it wasn't great, but as I like to do all the time, I like to go in empty. So when I get around to it, I'm going to wash all that out of my head, and I'm going to go with an empty cup and see how much it fills. If it overspills or if it doesn't fill at all, we will see. But thank you much for listening. I've been your host, Luke the Human. You've been listening to my £5 game reviews. And yeah, thank you very much for listening, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.